Hello, fellow travelers. You're listening to the Respawn Station podcast. My name is Nick Sivak, and I'm joined by Sri Kandula.
Hello, everybody.
And have you heard the news? The console wars are over, according to Microsoft.
Yes. We can all rejoice. And according to GameStop, we got an official declaration. And so we'll talk about that later because, man, that's what a time to be alive, Nick. Huh? What a time.
Yeah, crazy things happening in this here old video game industry. But before we get into all of that jazz, we do have an important question that we always like to ask each other, and that is what we've been playing. Sri, what have you been playing?
Well, one of the things you've already been spoiled, but we'll get to that next, the second. The first thing is a game that's not new. I've talked about it before on the show, but I'm mentioning it here because I have a feeling it'll kind of play into what I'm talking about or what I'm going to talk about next time on next episode, which is I've been playing Warzone. And, it's kind of the thing where I've finished my big, I guess, RPG, and I need to cut loose a little bit. So I went back to, I haven't bought the season pass or anything. I just kind of hopped on for a few games of Warzone, having fun with it. But the reason why I mention it is because we have the Battlefield free-to-play game, which, again, we're going to talk about. And I already have it installed. So at some point between now and next episode, I know I'm going to jump into it. And so for me, it's a comparison point about what both of these do and how it does well. I have played. It's interesting. I don't play a lot of battle royales, but I played all of the mainline like Call of Duty and Battlefield ones. Right, I've played Battlefield Firestorm or Operation Firestorm.
Mm-hmm.
I've played Call of Duty Blackout, which apparently is rumored to be coming back next year as part of like Warzone or whatever. So I experienced both of these big battle royale games, and I'm curious to see how Battlefield 6 will stand, because this is really going to be a big moment for Battlefield, I think. And I guess I've been topping up my battle royale skills.
I don't want to spoil it, but I think you will find a lot of familiarity if you're playing Warzone.
Okay. Yeah. So, again, we'll talk more about Battlefield in a second. The other thing is very interesting. So, I have been, to be honest, okay, we could have delayed last week's episode by one day, and I would have finished Days Gone, and I could have given you my full review. I said a lot of, and I still mean a lot of what I said last episode, and I said a lot of what I wanted to say, but I did finish my review. It is up on Respawn Station right now. You can go over there. It is a hefty piece. At one point, I was like, man, I'm going to give Nick a run for his money. And then I looked at his Elden Ring review, and I realized at that point what I had written was half of what his Elden Ring review was.
I don't know if that's a great comparison point. I mean, it's like I want to write a book, and then you look at War and Peace, and you're like, yeah, okay.
Dang it, yeah. But no, I am happy with this Days Gone review. I think it's a very, I think it's one of the most cohesive reviews I've done. And I say that as someone, like, I did not finish writing about all the things I like scribbled notes down for because it was too much. There was a point where I was like, man, I haven't talked about photo mode yet. And I was like, I just can't. There's no room in this review for photo mode, especially because I try to talk about obviously the game as it is in this vacuum of just playing the video game by itself, but then also the larger conversation about the PlayStation lineups and how they're all similar, but then why this one didn't really succeed and if it succeeded and all that stuff. It's all in the review. Go check it out. But while I was writing my review for Days Gone, which took a few days and a lot of kind of just polishing it after I had word vomited stuff out, I didn't want to play a huge or like commit to a really big new experience. And so I decided to play Back for Blood. And here's a little twist, right? And it's funny because Nick and I had a just happenstance conversation about this earlier this week. But I'm actually playing this thing on the PlayStation Portal. I didn't want to download it. I've just been streaming it to it, and I'm also playing it solo. I don't have any friends, unfortunately, to play with. But also, it's just like I full honesty, I wanted to. I booted this up a few days ago, like I think the day before or the morning of when you reached out, Nick,
Mm.
and I just like did the streaming and I played around with Marvel Spider-Man just to see how it was, and that was a good experience of like, oh wow, like feels good, doesn't feel like there's a lot of latency, and I was like, okay, I'm confident I can keep playing. And then I just decided, again, you don't have to install these games. I just booted up Back for Blood, and it dawned on me how short of a game it is.
Oh,
I'm already halfway through, and I've put a few hours into it, maybe like 2 hours into it, all exclusively on the PlayStation Portal. There are a few hiccups here and there where like the internet will kind of blip out, but for by and large, I mean, especially because again, I wouldn't do it for multiplayer games, at least not in the current infrastructure of things, but
mm.
single player games, I think it's totally worth it. Definitely after I've chug through this game, I want to play. I think I had a few games lined up. I think as Dusk Falls. I think that was one of the ones. Very like like the Telltale style story
Mm.
games. I think it would be very fitting for. But let me just talk about Back for Blood for a second, right? This is a very much so considered like a Left for Dead spiritual successor. I suppose much like Callisto Protocol is for like
For
Dead
Dead
Space or
Space.
whatnot, and it's not good for me. It is.
Oh.
I do not like it. And again, part of it you can definitely. It's one of those games where you can definitely probably increase what I think about it, like 1 or 2 points in the review scale if you have friends and you're playing it in multiplayer, because that just makes things a little bit better,
Hmm.
sure. But the gameplay is so boring. It's just like slot, like especially I think it's like Whiplash because I played through Days Gone, which is also zombies and hordes, and I had so much fun engaging in that combat, and I was just like, I didn't mind getting into it. Where like these like some of these missions are like 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, God damn it! All right, let's just get to the end of this thing. It's just not fun. The story's like again, and I know people aren't playing these for the story. The story's just like whatever, man. I have no care for any of these characters. They're just it feels like I'm just I don't know, man. It is
Going through
not
the
satisfying
motions.
to play. Yes, very much so. But you know what? It's currently the podcast game. I was just right before this podcast. I was listening to stuff and just playing like I think played through the entire second chapter or second act of the game. So progress is being made, I suppose.
Yeah,
But that's enough about me, Nick. Oh no, do you have you played Back for Blood?
I was just gonna say that I've played the beta. I never played the full game,
I also
but
played the beta. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
they had like that open beta or whatever. So that's only my real kind of touchstone with Back for Blood. I I've played Left 4 Dead 2. Like I've gone back to it a couple times, but usually with friends. So like I've never gone back and played it solo, and so I'm not sure how much of a comparison I could really make on that point to be like, because Left 4 Dead, like it also has like nostalgia working for it. Like it was something that
Right.
I played in the past, so it's always kind of tough whenever these spiritual successors come out, and then it's just kind of like, like it's not the thing I
Yeah,
wanted.
yeah.
So
But anyway, that's enough about Back for Blood. I may talk about it next week if I've passed it, but
muster the strength
that's about
to hit the finish
yeah,
line.
that's about as much I have to say about it. We'll see. I don't think we ever reviewed it. Austin might have. I know he played through it when it first came out, but if not, we'll see. Maybe I'll put something together for that. I think at this point, I mean, I'm like 5 for 5. Every game I've been playing, I've just been writing reviews. So head on over to respawnstation.com, guys. It's great. It's great. Nick, what have you been playing? I know you've had a busy day today,
Yeah,
catching up on stuff.
playing a bunch of my servicey stuff. Pretty much the main things I've been playing this week is the same stuff I was playing last week. I haven't made any more progress on Resident Evil 6, so we're at least, don't have to cover anything there. But I have finished Battlefield 6, the campaign, and I've also played a bit of multiplayer, and as we described earlier, Battlefield 6 RedSec, which is the new free-to-play Battle Royale. I got a couple matches under my belt earlier today as well.
Did you get the chicken dinner?
I did not. We did 3 matches. I was playing duos with a buddy of mine, and the first match, there's 50 teams. We came in 48th, so that was a pretty low one for the first one.
I see.
The second time, we came in 26th, so an improvement. And then the third time, we came in 12th. So it was...
Okay.
If we would have kept playing,
the number goes up.
Would have hit...
Or the number goes down. Yeah.
Hit it at some point. But... campaign, I'll just wrap up my thoughts on it because I really don't have much more to say.
Does it end how we predicted?
It doesn't have a I'm building a team moment, but it does tease at future content, which, as my friend said, is somewhat ambitious, I would say, just based on how kind of milquetoast the entire campaign was. So,
I mean, we do know that they have plans to make the Battlefield a yearly release like Call of Duty, which is a whole different animal in itself, because like that conversation is then like, okay, I thought Battlefield's success right now really relied on the fact that they were like, we're not Call of Duty, we're not doing the same thing that they are, we're not putting a bunch of there have microtransactions, but like weird cosmetics into the game. But we do want that money though.
Yeah. I had a fun time with it. I think it has good moments, and those moments are pretty much in the spectacle and the scale and like the destructible environments. That was kind of the stuff that I had the most fun with. Surprisingly, like, I don't like the characters. I didn't think that the story was all that interesting, but there are 2 moments of dialogue that have to be intentionally pointing at Call of Duty. I don't know if you want me to spoil it or not, but there's...
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
There's one line where, this one's less so, but you're trying to get into a van and a character says, soldier, we are leaving. Kind of like that Call of Duty, like Captain Price moment. Yeah. And it's like that one, like I can kind of excuse it. Maybe, in the moment, that is a natural thing that somebody says. There's a different moment, however, when you're coming across the main antagonist in the game, and your squad member or whatever is trying to sneak up on them, and they get flanked by somebody off screen again, and the antagonist says, didn't check those corners. And it's like that has to be like pointing at like Call of Duty and being like, because that line is just like so ubiquitous and so like in the zeitgeist, I feel, that it's like that has to be some kind of reference or something like that. So I
mean, hey, former game director is former Call of Duty and Titanfall.
Exactly. So that's why if they are specifically pointing at that, I think that is very funny, and those are 2 moments that actually will stick with me outside of all the random whatever
generic action spectacle.
Yeah, the CIA is setting us up kind of plot points.
Wait, was it true that it was like the reveal trailer, I think we said like the president was behind it or something, or like, is that true?
No.
Okay.
The president does have a role in the game, but it's like so surface level. It's not even. It's kind of funny thinking back to that trailer now, because it's like they do kind of open on him and like set him up, but like it's a very minor role as far as the game goes. So
okay. I guess they did it to just mimic the was it Battlefield 3 trailer, where it's like it starts with a POV of a guy being held hostage, and it's like delivering the speech, like the guy who's kidnapping you is delivering a speech to the camera. Do you remember this?
Not really. It's been so long since I played Battlefield 3.
I mean, it's not like an incredible moment, but it's like the big dialogue of like, you come to our country and
I
murder
do.
us,
I do
and you
remember
call
that.
us the
Yeah.
terrorists. Yeah,
Yeah. So overall, like campaign, it was good TM. like
shrug.
I didn't
Sure.
really have much issues with it outside of some of the AI just feeling like they had, omniscient presence. Like there was one moment where like I was coming down a hallway in a house and immediately like frame one coming around the corner, the dude was already meleeing me and stuff. It's like, okay, there's no way that one that would be legit. But um outside of that, gameplay is fine. The spectacle was probably the best part.
Nice.
Multiplayer, I think the multiplayer is probably going to be the part that this might not sound that surprising, but it's probably going to be the part that I think is the most successful. It's still got like a little bit of, hiccups here and there. They're still trying to balance things and stuff like that. The typical modern FPS kind of multiplayer situation that I feel like all of them go through. It's like a cycle. Every time they come out, we got to patch a bunch of stuff. We got to fix a bunch of bugs, balance things, all that sort of jazz. But I am having fun with the multiplayer specifically. But I think the more interesting thing that we can talk about is the Red Sec, which just came out today as of recording, which, as you mentioned before, is a free-to-play battle royale. It also has a separate mode, I think, but I did not play that yet. So I'm not 100% positive on what that entails. But we did do
I mean,
duos.
Warzone also has like separate free to play modes, along with the battle royale. They have like a resurgence island and all that stuff. So maybe.
Yeah, from the trailer, it looks like it's something having to do with squads. It's like if you do a certain, like your squad will go further up a rank or something like that. I don't really, again, limited knowledge on that one. But we did play the actual like battle royale mode. And as I kind of alluded to when you were talking about Warzone, it feels very reminiscent of Warzone to me. And I haven't played Warzone in a couple years at this point. Like it's been a while since I've played. But
like 3 years, 4 years, yeah.
The UI looked very similar to me, where it has like, your name, kind of your gear, your armor plates. It has armor plates in it like all these battle royales have. You kind of jump in from a vehicle. You can choose which area of the map you want to drop into. There are loot chests that you can open to get ammo and armor. You can get little like airstrikes. You can get weapons, all that sort of stuff. You can also pick up missions. So you can do a thing where it's like, go and destroy this position or whatever. Go and capture this supply drop that's being dropped in. Vehicles, obviously a Battlefield staple. Those are still there. There's also redeploy towers.
Does it have a... what's the level of destruction in the red sections? Because I'm always curious, like having the amount of people. I mean, you're saying 50 teams. I think Call of Duty is like 100 or something, or maybe more. I'm not sure what, or not more than 100. I mean, like 50 or greater than 50. I mean,
Yeah.
So is there like destruction still work in that?
That's probably the one thing that would set it apart, is that it has the same level of Battlefield destruction. So most of the buildings you come across, you can destroy. There are some big points of interest. Like there was this one building that my friend and I dropped in that was like a big, I don't know what you would call it, like an office complex or something. And I tried to blow up the ceiling to get access to, there was like an objective for a mission that we were doing, and like it didn't crumble the floor or anything like that. It just kind of exploded. But on the flip side of that, we did find ourselves in sort of this one area. The map is set in California, and it's kind of like a very war-torn California. So there's like areas where like there's giant like ravines in the roads and stuff like that. And
no one show the president Battlefield 6 gameplay, guys, please. Please.
Yeah, and we were coming up on these like kind of destroyed buildings in this ravine, and there was a squad that started to fire on us. And essentially what I did, I was playing as an engineer, and I had a rocket launcher. So I just got the rocket launcher out, started firing a couple rockets, and we pretty much just like leveled the house that they were in. So that way my friend could open up for like a little crossfire sort of maneuver. So certain buildings definitely still have that destruction. There's a shot in the trailer of like an entire big building coming down, so I'm sure that there's like specific buildings that
Levolution.
yeah, that have that sort of thing. But like other areas, it seems like it's a little bit stripped back. But like, you know, certain walls I'm sure will go out, or like a stair set can be blown up, that sort of stuff. It actually kind of led to a funny moment. I forgot about this until just now, but in these like destroyed buildings that we were at, my friend went in before me, and then he killed one guy because we were like chasing him. We saw him like parachuting into the house, I think, and so we were trying to move up on him. We got the one guy, but he had a teammate that was up on the top floor. His teammate shot my teammate, so he went down, and then he was pointing out to me, he's like, he's on the second floor around the corner, but the entire second floor was like gone. Essentially, it was blown up, so there's just like these little chunks, and like I knew where he was, so like I'll try to do it with like my fingers here. So like if the guy was here, there's like a wall here, and the door right here is where I came in. And so I had to like jump across this wall and then turn around and shoot this way to get the guy around the corner. And so it was like a little weird like platforming challenge that you had to do to get a proper position on it and everything. So that was something that was like a little bit fun that I guess maybe is in, you know, Warzone or like Fortnite, I suppose. If you're doing build stuff, you might come across little moments like that. But overall, I'm going to put some more time into it, but it did feel quite reminiscent of Warzone from look and from just like overall, I don't know if I would say game feel. Like it's just, maybe it's because of that battle royale design where like it already felt like, even though this is a brand new thing, it felt like I had done this before. Like you drop in, you grab all the stuff you can carry, then you start moving to the center. Like that is how these games kind of work. So while it has like its own little flavors and it has the destructible environments going for it, it did feel a bit familiar like right out of the gate.
I mean, hey, it's those. I think for me, the reason why I really like Warzone, and I also don't think there's a apt competition for it until Battlefield RedSec, is because, again, we've said it before, Call of Duty functions on such a high production value, and it's also, you know, quote unquote realistic. Call of Duty is definitely more arcadey than even Battlefield is, but it's not like a Fortnite, right? Like it's not quite to that level, and so you still have like really good sound design and solid graphics and you know, for me, as far as I play, good performance. But then you're put into these places that are, you know, kind of to scale to life, and there's some really interesting, kind of really tense encounters that can happen when you're in gameplay that make it really kind of, you know, like satisfying. I mean, like it literally, I mean, it's kind of what, you know, you're saying that just happened to you, but like I was playing with Austin and Brittany this past weekend, and there's a moment where Austin's like, "I'm down," and then, you know, I burst through the door, and he's like, "He's right there, kill him!" And so I dropped the guy that got him, and then like I'm rushing over to him, and like I stab him with the fucking pen, right, like you know, he's like, "This is the closest you can cut it," because like, you know, his health bar was going down, and like those kind of close calls really stand out. So that's what I'm looking forward to in Battlefield. If it can give me something close to that, and also remove the totally weird, out of place skins and stuff like that, which are not yet in Battlefield yet. Again, we don't know. Then I think I'll be pretty satisfied. And again, I'm still kind of hoping, or not hoping. I'm still debating if I want to get Battlefield 6, just the base game. And oh, there goes my monitor. Something's going on with my monitor. So this might be like a dark spooky episode, guys. But yeah, we'll see if I actually end up getting Battlefield 6, and maybe RedSec is what convinces me, which I think is kind of what EA is hoping for as they put it out.
Yeah, I really want to hop in with you and get your take on it specifically, because I feel like, especially fresh off of Warzone, you'll be able to speak to some of the more intricacies between the two. that maybe
Sure, right.
I would just kind of gloss over on that. But
Yeah.
I think you'll have fun with it if you like Warzone, if you like these battle royale games. Like I said, it immediately feels like those other kind of experiences. So,
Hell yeah.
that's kind of my overall thoughts on Battlefield 6. I think it's good. I'm having a fun time with it. I also have issues with it, but like those issues aren't like super massive. It's nothing like about this game is like broken, right? There's nothing just like horrible about it. It's just some areas are like okay and other areas are good. So,
Yeah. It really is an interesting case of I think Battlefield 6 is kind of the prime target of a game where one mode far outweighs the other.
mhm,
And thinking about it from the point of view of like a reviewer, it's like, oh, I could give it a combined score of this, but I know that the single player would drag it would be dragging the score down,
right.
whereas the multiplayer is really the kind of the highlight. So yeah,
Uh,
who
Other
knows?
than that, the only other thing that I've continued to play is Eternal Darkness on the GameCube. Haven't made as much progress as I've wanted to, but I am about halfway through the game now, and still having
Oh,
fun with
nice.
it. It's There are some areas of it that are getting a bit. I don't know if I want to say repetitive is the right word. The As I'm going through the game, so like I think I mentioned the other week when I was talking about it, you are exploring this house and you find these pages to this book called the Tome of Eternal Darkness. And whenever you find a page, it allows you to play like a side story essentially, following a different character. And as it's
Mm,
gone on, it sort of has like light time travel elements to it, where it's like some of these stories have taken back in like, ancient Roman times. There was one that I did that was in like the 1700s.
right.
And the most recent one I played was set in the 80s. And it kind of has this like Indiana Jones vibe to it. Like you're kind of playing this archaeologist character that's exploring a tomb. And this tomb is used as a level in like several other chapters that I've played. So there's an element of it that's kind of cool where it's like this place is changing over time and there's like new wings to the place. There's new like vines growing in these spots, or there's new traps that are put in. And that's kind of cool. But at the same time, it's also like I've been to this temple like 4 times. It's like just the temple and the house are the only like main places that I feel like I've really kind of explored. And so while parts of it are cool and it's like you get to see it evolve over time, it is like a little bit samey just going back to this temple like again and again and again. And I know that
Sure.
it's going to expand later because one of the previous chapters you go through a part of the house and it leads to this completely different area. So I'm looking forward to getting to that point where I get to explore a bit more of that area, because that really seems like it's going to amp up the like horror aspect of the game. But outside of that, I'm still having fun with it. The combat's a little bit repetitive, even though I think it's serviceable. Like it's just kind of like go into the room. Here's 5 more enemies to kill. you know, take them out
Right.
one at a time, move on. So I think,
It says 13 hours to beat, although 30 if you want to complete it.
yeah, I'm at around 4.5 to 5 hours. So that's probably about right, especially if you're taking your time going through everything. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, having fun with it still. I'm probably gonna see it through to the end at this point. Like I think I'm past the point of dropping it. So it does some really cool things. It also is like I feel like the box is so horror game, and like it is a survival horror game sort of, but like the gameplay, I don't know if this is that Nintendo influence because they published this game or not, but like it really hasn't scared me all that much. It feels very like Halloween scary and not actually like we're gonna mess you up
Right.
scary. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's a very unique experience. I will give it that fully through, from the gameplay to the story and the kind of setting that they have going. It's a very unique game. I'm not sure if it's on Nintendo Switch Online for the GameCube stuff yet. I think they are adding that at some point. So maybe if they
Hmm.
do add that, it might be something to keep an eye out for. But yeah, having fun with it. Don't really have any major complaints outside of a bit of repetition, really.
Hmm. You know, I did forget to mention one thing. I remembered it when you were talking about Battlefield 6, mainly about the campaign having some sort of an ending for the like or a teaser for the next one, but not like, I'm putting together a team.
Hmm.
I mentioned this in my review for Days Gone, but so the game has, you roll credits and then there's three more, and you can do cleanup for however much you want to finish stuff up. But there's three post credits missions that you unlock as you just kind of have to kill time. You could literally, I think, just sleep and just wake up the next day and keep going, or
Hmm.
you can do stuff to actually get some trophies and stuff, and that way. Um, and oh damn, I got another thing to say. But I was doing that, and I played through the three post credit scenes. The final one is, dare I say, a Thanos at the end of Avengers level fucking teaser of like, there's gonna be a sequel and it's gonna be bigger and meaner than this one. Like, like
Hmm.
it definitely like hits different knowing that that a sequel is not currently in on the way. But there is one thing. So, like, again, I didn't really look at the trophies or anything for Days Gone until I finished the game, and then I was like, oh, let me see what I can do, clean up, and I was going to the location of the third and final mission, like the cutscene I was just talking about, and so on the way, I was just kind of driving by, and I see this one specific type of freaker that is like a harder one to fight than just a regular one, and I thought I had seen the trophy that was like, oh, kill this with a melee weapon. And so I killed one previously. I killed one with a melee weapon, but the trophy didn't pop. And then I realized it was with a specifically you have to do it with your knife, like not just a melee weapon, your weak ass knife.
Hmm.
And so I put like, three shots of like a shotgun in it, and then I just started knifing them. And it's like a super, like, I mean, this thing, if you can dodge, you're good. If you don't dodge, it like fucking rocks your health. And so I was like, all right, I'm just getting there. I'm chopping away, and and really, I got into a good pace. I was rolling, attack, attack, roll, attack, attack, and then right as I'm like, and occasionally as that's happening, like one or two stray like common freakers will come up. Then Nick, a final freaker comes up from the fucking distance all the way in the forest. All right, it sees, it's like, what's going on over there? I got to check that out. So it comes running over to attack me, and then this dumb fuck over here steps in front of the attack, and he kills the thing that I was trying to
Oh,
kill. And it's not like you're gonna find it like, by just going down the road. Like, these things have a little bit less of a spawn rate. So yeah, that was a
brutal.
weird, that was a tough time.
That
But you know what?
sucks
There
whenever
it
you
is.
discover that enemies can damage each other
Can
like
kill
that.
it. Yeah.
And it's just like, what's the
And
point? Like, why did I just waste my time
yeah.
doing that?
And there was a time I think I had like in the game tempted or like lured a bear to attack like the freakers or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Like, I did that.
Mhm.
But I didn't know they just attacked each other and they could they could deal damage like that. That was a yeah, and I found that out after I beat the game. So, only the finest reviewer over here.
I don't know if it's in the version you're playing or if it's in the remaster, but is there like a crazy taxi-esque minigame or something? I feel like I saw
Oh, I'm
footage
not
of
sure.
it a long
So,
time ago where you drive around like a golf cart and you have to like drop people
oh,
off or
no.
something.
I don't think so. I mean, there is a
Okay.
challenge mode, but they're just like things you can like, oh, go through this camp without fighting it or like alerting any enemies, and then you get some challenge points. Like, it's just to buff out the timeline, but there's not really yeah, there's and I don't know what exactly the remastered has because again, I played the base PS4 version on the base PS4. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I think it
Simple.
might be a remastered thing that I saw or something. But yeah, there's like this weird, crazy taxi mode where you're driving people around at different points and stuff like that. So yeah.
Damn. I could see it. I mean, with the hordes, again, that is the most impressive thing about this game is the hordes. And
Mhm.
the biggest drawback or the negative of that is the fact that like you have to if you're streamlining the game and you're just playing only the main missions, you're not really exploring a lot more. You might not encounter the thrill of taking on a horde until the last like 5 6 hours of the game because that's the point where it requires you to actually take on a horde for the
Mhm.
story, and by then it's like, oh great, you felt it, but like you get like there's only you do it 3 times at the end of the game, and then that's all you get. Whereas if you get a little bit more, you can kind of pace yourself and really feel that fucking thrill, fucking crazy.
Did it
Anyway,
perform well on base PS4?
surprisingly, the hordes, I don't think I ever lagged during the hordes again, which is really impressive. It's
Yeah.
like during the open world, I'll be like just flooring it down the open roads, and it'll like be like, oh, hold on, give me a second, and it'll load a little bit, and then it'll kind of keep going. But yeah, really, like you know, small, minor, like, all the performance stuff was pretty minor for me. But the hordes working, I don't know how they fucking did it. This is the sort of Nick. This is the sort of technology that you patent and then never use it again in a video game. That's the level of like that's the level of mechanics we're working with.
Right.
But anyway, it is time to talk about the news and
Yeah.
seeing. We have a few things to touch on and some inbox that'll add in there as well. So Nick, where do you want to start, man?
Let's start with some of the bad, I think. I like starting with the bad so we can get a little bit better as we go on.
Yeah,
Um, on the day that Battlefield RedSec is revealed, I suppose, and launched, we also got word that Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt, which is the vampire battle royale game, is shutting down. So we get one battle
they knew
royale
their
game.
competition was here. They're like, "Fuck, Battlefield 6, our only competitor."
Yeah, I saw a tweet from Daniel Bloodworth, who is over at Easy Allies, and he was like, "It's kind of ironic when the battle royale nature of like the only the top succeeds like plays out like this, and it's like you get a new one hopping on the scene, but then three others get shut down and taken out." So, um,
Yeah.
I have not played any of the Vampire the Masquerade anything. I've had a bit of a desire to play the original one in the past because it is made by Troika, who were the studio
Mm,
that was spawned from Tim Kaine, Leonard Boyarsky, the people behind the original Fallout. And I've been curious about
yeah.
it for a couple years, but never played it. You mentioned before we started recording that you played a little bit of Blood Hunt, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick lives in the darkness. I have played like I think they so it's a free to play game. The Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines is a free to play battle royale, but I think they gave me like a battle pass or something. They're like, hey, go check this out. And so I went in knowing nothing about this universe, and then I looked up a little bit, and it's like, oh, there's this whole world of vampires, and there's a lot of weird politics going on too. And then it's a constant onslaught of like, oh, there's a new game coming out, and then there's the old one is, but it's in like remastered or like there's canceled, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
They did release Vampire Masquerade's Bloodline. No, no, Vampire's Masquerade
Blood Hunt is the
the
battle royale.
Blood.
Bloodlines
Oh,
2 is the
Bloodlines
newest
2 is the one that
game.
just came out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. These goddamn games. But so I own the first one. I think it was the first Bloodlines. I got it for the PS5, I think. PS4. I have another one of these fucking games. Okay, I didn't know how many of these there were. And I've been waiting to play it. I got it a few years ago because back when we were playing D&D, someone I think Austin bought the book, the D&D like role playing book for the universe, and so we were kind of tempted by that. I have not touched that game. So I've only played this one. I had a lot of fun with it. But again, it's one of those things where I had fun with it for like about 2 weeks, 2 maybe 3 weeks, and
Hmm.
then and I streamed it a little bit too. And then after that, I was just kind of I moved on. But there were some cool things in it, specifically with the fact that it were like it's like you're playing a vampire. Also, shout out, I believe the developer is named Shark Mob, which is just a cool ass name, like a certified cool name. So,
Hmm.
oh, you know what? Speaking of cool, right? How good of a title is Battlefield Red Sec? I'm guessing it means Red Sector or something like that.
It's
It's
redacted
abbreviated.
sector.
Oh fuck. Okay, redacted sec. Okay, yeah, not a cool name, man. Not I don't dig it. Red Sec does not like. Oh, dude, you want to hop onto some Red Sec next? Like, oh, let's hop on Warzone. It's easy,
It's
it
it's
flows.
very tactical, right? Like everything's an
Yeah, yeah,
acronym and a hyphen. Like it's
yeah.
yeah, you're right. It does not
It's weird.
roll off the tongue very well. Just kind of like
Um,
Operation Firestorm.
wow, how dare you? Even Blackout, I think, is like a better name for. I don't know.
Hmm.
They hired the guy, game director. They needed to get the person that's naming these things next from
One word title.
Activision.
Black or like
Yeah.
Blackout, Warzone, not
Yep.
not redacted sector. You're getting too many syllables.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey man, you want to hop on? You want to go to the redacted sector later?
Battlefield
Um.
6's redacted sector mode.
Yeah. Yeah. That's usually how I like to invite people. Hey, would you like to meet up for the free to play Battlefield 6 redacted sector gameplay battle royale? Um. All right. Now let's get to the. Actually, there's still bad news. Amazon announces layoffs of the lead to the end of fucking goddamn it. Amazon layoffs lead to the end of support for New World. Was this the full name? Is this like it's like starts with an A, isn't it?
Uh
Avernum New World, something like that.
Maybe. I've never personally played it. I just know it as New World, and that's like their big kind of MMO that they put out.
Yeah,
And yeah, I honestly I just kind of saw this last minute and kind of threw it in there.
Eternum.
Eternum. Um yeah, more layoffs constantly. It's a revolving door. I was a little bit surprised to see that it was going to be like I don't know if it's like fully ending support, but like the most recent like content that's coming out, I think is the last content that it's going to be getting. And so it's a bit surprising because I thought out of everything from Amazon's kind of gaming what's the word? Uh escapades, let's say, their efforts in the gaming space. New World was kind of the one that actually kind of landed and found an audience a bit. And so I'm just
Yeah,
kind of surprised that they would up and, you know, it's kind of the trend, right? You know, everybody's laying off people, but it's like, it's kind of surprising that like their major kind of
it's the
win that
most
they
lucrative
have.
one that feels. Oh, it's the one that feels the most lucrative
Yeah.
that had a shot. So specifically they put out a blog post on the New World website, and they essentially said this quote: the recently launched season 10 and Night Haven update will serve as the final content release for New World for PC and consoles. It is only after much consideration that we've reached this decision. To thank you, the New World community, to support for your support over the years, we have made the Night Haven release available to you for free to ensure all New World players can experience this content. We also made Rise of the Angry Earth free for all PC players. In the coming months, we will provide more details on what to expect and other essential information. Rest assured, our intention is to keep servers operating through 2026, following our community time to allowing our community time to continue their adventures in Eternum. Additionally, the New World Eternum will still be available for PlayStation Plus members on extra and premium tiers. So, yeah, I mean, hey, if you have any interest, I mean, I would definitely say, as you're planning out your time, aim for the early part of 2026.
Hmm.
Just in case.
But yeah, let's get into Fallout Day. Oh boy. So last week we
Boo.
were recording beforehand, before Fallout Day, and Fallout Day has now since come to pass. There was a couple of announcements there, and as expected, the fan base is all up in arms and complaining and being upset. Some justifiably so, some unjustified. So it's a
Where's Fallout New Vegas remastered, man? Come on.
it is
That's all I was asking for.
several years away. If it's going to be coming, it is most certainly after Fallout 3 remastered, which is also a couple years away. So, but instead of a remaster, you do get $150 anniversary re-release of New Vegas
15th anniversary
for PC.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's the 15th anniversary. It's the same game that they're releasing again on PC, and you get a nice little collector's box, a statue of Victor, the Securitron, some art cards, a patch, I think. As somebody, again, I am not speaking for the community. I'm not even endorsing that you give Bethesda money for this. If you think that this is a stupid thing, by all means, vote with your wallet. Don't do that. As somebody with my specific circumstance where I specifically collect collector's editions for this freaking series and different variants, I'm probably going to buy this because straight up, I kind of want it. So, again, not giving any financial advice here, and no, you probably shouldn't buy it if you don't want to support it, but I probably will be buying this, even if it is $150, and I'm not sure that I think it's quite worth that, especially if it's not getting any sort of extra stuff. It's just some merch and a PC re-release of New Vegas. Like, again, I wasn't really expecting anything for New Vegas, so the fact that we're getting anything at all, I think that's kind of cool, at least. But, there's also people that, like, see the section of the broadcast where they have the New Vegas developers on, and it's just kind of like a brief, like, hey, go play New Vegas, happy Fallout Day thing, and people are like, oh, they did them so dirty and stuff. It's like, that's... I don't know what you were expecting.
Yeah.
But outside of New Vegas, they also announced a Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition. This was kind of speculated on pretty heavily that this was going to be here. It's going to be the base game with all the DLCs, plus a bunch of released and unreleased Creation Club content, which is sort of what they did with the Skyrim Anniversary Collection. So there'll be a bunch of new content in there, all the DLC, that sort of stuff. And as sort of an offshoot of that, they also announced that the Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition will be coming to Switch 2. So that's kind of cool. First time that Fallout is on Nintendo, aside for Fallout Shelter, which you can get on Switch. So
I'm fascinated how that will run. It just feels like an odd. I don't know. I know Fallout 4 also had some performance issues on regular, like on PS4 and whatever, but
I look at it two ways, because I've heard a lot of people just be like, how's that going to work out? I mean, the Switch 2 can run Cyberpunk. I think if it can run Cyberpunk, there's no reason why it can't run 10-year-old Fallout 4. But
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Depends on how well optimized it is. Yeah.
And if they fix all the bugs from when they broke it on the anniversary release last year. So, outside of that, Fallout Shelter's also getting seasons and a battle pass system. I don't think anybody's really excited about this, to be honest. Like, it's the reason why I think this broadcast had so much, like, merchandise and, like, hey, you're excited, pay money for it kind of announcements, is something that we might get into a little bit later. But there's this report that, like, Xbox is having to get their profit margins up a lot higher. And I think if you look at a lot of this under that
they're looking at their most milkable IPs,
Yeah, I think it starts to make a lot more sense that it's a lot of, like, re-releases and things like this. And obviously, with them shipping Oblivion Remastered earlier this year, there was no chance that you were getting any sort of Fallout remasters or anything like that. They're obviously working on stuff. Todd said as much at the end, but, like, obviously nothing was going to be ready to talk about. And Bethesda's also sort of into this just like constant damned if you do, damned if you don't situation where it's like
Yeah.
they don't have anything to show, so they weren't going to show anything, and everybody gets mad because they don't have anything to show, so they're like, well, why'd you even do this in the first place? Then they stop talking altogether like they've done with Starfield, and people get mad at them again, and it's like, oh, you don't listen to the community, we just want like you to talk about Starfield. And it's like, okay, well, if they don't have anything to talk about, then you're just gonna be upset. So they find themselves constantly in this, like, they can't do anything. And like, Todd's spoken about it before, where it's like once you hit a certain level of success, I think that just happens for everybody. And like, to be fair, I'm very much in the Bethesda kind of, community scape, so like I get blasted with it a lot. But like, even you've talked about with Ubisoft, like it's almost like the same way over on that end. With Rockstar, it's the same way. Like, once you hit a certain level of success, you just like will never be able to please everyone, and it feels like that constant shifting of the balance is just always so like heightened whenever you're like in on one game or franchise or something like that. So
Yeah, it's an odd thing, and I feel like I've grown to recognize it more in recent years and months, that people love in the gaming community specifically. I'm not talking about, look, right? Like, I think if you play video games, you are a gamer, but I also don't think that every gamer is in the gaming community, because there's people that, they're like, oh, I don't even like care about the news. I'm just like, I go to the store, I see a game, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy that. And this is my one game for the like next 6 months, and then I'll play it for an hour whenever I can get a chance or whatever.
mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily involved in the dialogue of the gaming community. I think the gaming community, the people that are, online, they're conversing, they're looking up what the like everything that's coming out. There's this overwhelming sensation of that they have to share their negative thoughts. And I think it really turns into, especially when you get into these echo chambers, it's just like that it's the negativity feels so loud. And I think I've come to now at least recognize it and know that that's not the majority opinion by and large. It's usually like, because, and again, like you're saying, it happens at a certain level just automatically. You go to a Nintendo Direct stream and chat's already like, by the time it starts, it's like, yeah, this fucking sucks. Whatever. C tier, D, the fucking F
Right.
Direct. Give me PlayStation. But luckily, chat, we don't have to worry about that anymore. Console wars are over. So, a thing of the past. I can only imagine archaeologists will be watching this and being like, well, there was a time before the present where they used to care about this stuff.
Data archivists.
Now there is only the AI that makes the games on the one AI console.
God.
We'll talk about that. That's a topic for another episode. All right. What else is that? All the big
Last thing that I had
Fallout
real
Day
quick
stuff?
was for Fallout Day, that was the main kind of things. Again, Todd mentioned, hey, we're working on stuff, but it's, that's nothing to really talk about. So there's a lot of merch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of re-releases for anniversaries, and season 2 of the show, they weren't really there. Like, the cast kind of said like happy Fallout Day at the end, but they did share some new character posters for season 2. So kind of cool. We'll probably be getting a second trailer here in the coming weeks, because there's not that much time before season 2. So everybody can at least get excited for that.
All right. So before we get to the main topic, let me throw a few inbox items. All right. Because ladies and gentlemen, I have been clearing these fucking things out, and it is brutal. I don't understand. I don't know if I don't know how people are finding our emails at this point, but it is so many emails. And I'll be like, oh, I cleared out a good 30. I can relax, and I'll come back, and there's 30 more. So it's like the number hasn't gone down at all. But here are some of the 130 emails that I've gone through in the last 2 days. These are some of the ones that caught my eye for one reason or other. I'll try to say what that reason is as we talk about them. First is a game that Nick, I'm very curious. I feel like you might like, even though it doesn't seem like a game that you would like. It is called Silly Polly Beast. It is a Japanese inspired, sorry, it is from Japanese inspired indie publisher Top Hat Studios, and it's a story driven shooter from sole developer Andrei Chern, Chernyshev. I apologize if I said. I mean, I did say that wrong. The game is releasing on Steam, PS4, PS5, and Xbox consoles. Actually, it's out now. So, like, as of when we're recording this, so by the
Whatever
time
you
you're listening to this, it's probably already got more reviews and stuff in. But it's been out for a day, and it already has over 30 reviews on Steam, sitting at positive. Just a really cool vibe for this one. It has like a little bit. Maybe it's the. I think you'll like it because it feels maybe a little bit Suda energy of that kind. So yeah, check out Silly Polly Beast. Weird name. Weird name. This one I liked because of the concept. Well, actually, also the image had a shark on it. All right, the key art had a shark on it. That was a low bar for me, but it's a Subnautica meets Rust style underwater multiplayer survival game called Anchor, and it can support up to 150 plus players. This has just got revealed. It's a large-scale, persistent open world where, and then they have plans to kind of go beyond that as well. So yeah, check it out. Again, it's coming to PC. You can probably wishlist it now on Steam. There's also a trailer that has some sharks in it as well that you can check out. It's obviously still definitely looks like a game that's of the PC survival kind. You know, it's not like high end, but again, it's a cool one to check out. This one, very short one. Vienna-based solo developer Bernie Wick has released Fading Serenades. It's out now on Steam. It's playable on Windows and Mac. It's available for $10 or regional equivalent. And for the first week of launch, it'll be 10% off. But this one's just looks like a really cool kind of cozy game to check out. So and it's inspired by classic kind of action adventure games. So yeah, definitely check that out as well. This one, throwing in there mainly because so this is a the first gameplay teaser for a game that I did not know was happening. This is Paranormal Activity Threshold. Check your cameras, ladies and gentlemen. The upcoming horror game led by the mortuary assistant creator and developer Brian Clark. That was apparently revealed in 2014, by the way. 2024. So yeah, last year.
full decade.
Paranormal. Yeah, that was on me. Paranormal Activity released their first gameplay teasers, published by Dread XP, and obviously in partnership with Paramount. It's the film. It's the Paranormal Activity film franchise being brought to life by Darkstone Digital. That's honestly, look at the gameplay teaser. It looks pretty, I'd say, Layers of Fear-esque, which feels fitting. I know that I feel like that's a pretty dormant franchise, so it's interesting that it's making the jump onto games finally.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's because the movies are on the corner.
The term threshold just makes me think of Remedy, because that's a very like Control and Alan Wake thing and theme in those games. So it makes me think of that. It'd be curious if they do like a crossover or something, and it's just like, yeah, you got your Alan Wake DLC in Paranormal Activity.
Yeah. All right, I have 3 more games to go through, Nick. 3 more. The next one is an N64. That's cool. It'd be cool if someone got games for that. N64 inspired Souls-like game called Mouseword from Void Souls developer is coming to PC. So this one is from Finite Reflection Studios. Announced that Mouseword is coming to PC, featuring a modern take on retro aesthetics, and the game is a nostalgic love letter to the golden age of 3D adventures. So it has challenging Souls-like combat, as of course to be expected. Vast collectathon, customize your mouse guard, and a somber, quirky cast. It will be released to PC via Steam. An early build of the game is currently available on itch.io to check out. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I'm
All
looking
right,
at some
second to last game.
screenshots for Mouseword here, and they definitely nailed the like texturing of an
Yeah,
N64 game. Like it's such a very
yep.
distinct early 3D kind of look. So very cool.
Next is a game that's out now. It's called Radiolite. They also obviously announced a new launch trailer alongside it as well. But Radiolite is a story-driven adventure PC game with strong atmosphere and emotional beats. And comparable to Firewatch, but with a darker twist. Set in 1985 within the isolated woods of the fictional Ashwood Creek National Park, Radiolite places you in the shoes of Ethan, a police officer drawn into a chilling investigation after a teenager disappears under mysterious circumstances. As you explore fog-enshrouded forests, abandoned trails, your only true companion is a radio device that allows you to tune into static, haunting frequencies and supernatural signals that may either mark your rescue or your undoing. So there you go, Radiolite. That one looked cool. And then the last game. This one's just a hot off the press, just announced. It is Skinwalker. It's a retro hack and slash platformer from Team 17 Digital and Seismo Games. This was a showcase as part of Galaxy's showcase. So in Skinwalker, you play a wary scientist who is forced to give up his own humanity in order to save his daughter by shapeshifting into a monstrous form and wielding its ancient archaic wrath. You will fight anyone who stands in your way and decide if you truly would do anything to save your child. There you go. That's your inbox for the week. Oh, and look at that. Got another email. Got to check that out afterwards.
Alrighty.
All right, Nick.
If you've been enjoying the show so far, be sure to leave a like and also check out respawnstation.com. Over there, we are posting, interviews, reviews, all sorts of good stuff. So if you like what you see here and you'd like to, just get us to shut up, but still read what we have to say, that's your place to go. So definitely check out respawnstation.com. So, at the top of this, we talked about how the console wars are over. And there is a fairly big event that happened this week that kind of jump-started all of this. And that is the announcement of a new Halo game. And sort of, I guess we'll say. This is Halo Campaign Evolved. Dog shit title. Sorry, Microsoft. It's bad. It's bad. But Halo Campaign Evolved. This is going to be this has been rumored for a bit, but this is a Unreal Engine remake of Halo Combat Evolved, the original Halo game. And it got a teaser trailer, and it also got a 10 to 12 minute gameplay demo of one of the levels, the Silent Cartographer. And also the dev team has been doing a bunch of interviews with people. So there's a lot of information kind of coming out about this project. And we got a bit of an early look at it. And first of all, I think we should probably just talk about, the game itself, Sri, if you want, for a few minutes before we get into the actual ramifications of the game's existence. I watched the trailer and a little bit of the gameplay. Have you watched anything on it?
Yeah, yep. Same thing.
What is your history with Halo? Have you played I should just ask, what have you played of Halo?
I have the stupidest relationship with Halo. And it's actually very similar to my relationship with Alan Wake. So if I get around to starting that in the next few weeks, this will be a story I repeat. But I didn't have Xbox consoles growing up, and so I wasn't constantly in the loop with the Halo franchise. I know it's this huge. Nick, I feel like there was a time where really Battlefield was like is kind of more fringe, and it was like Call of Duty versus Halo was the big kind of competition.
For sure.
Um, and I was always on Call of Duty's side at that point. But when I was in high school, stop me if you heard this before. Actually, don't stop me. You can say it anyway. Our high school had a few like laptops and like a computer labs, and all of them had one server, like a connected server that they could connect to, so that teachers were like, "Oh, we have this assignment. Go to this folder and you can access it." So you don't, it's an easy way of dispersing files.
Hmm.
One student created a file or a secret folder within a folder within a folder within a folder that you'd have to know people to figure out where it was. And once you did, it had Binding of Isaac, Alan Wake, and Halo Combat Evolved, among a few other games, just installed. And who knows how this person got it, I'm sure in totally legal ways.
Hmm.
And so what would happen was people would like in class, if we finished, our assignments or whatever early, we just boot up Halo Combat Evolved. And when I was a senior, there's definitely times where my teacher could see me playing Halo, and I was like, "Yeah, but I finished my stuff." Low key, Nick, I have to say this. I have to do this for my own clout. One of the coldest moments from my academic career was I played so much Halo Combat Evolved during this one particular class that the teacher got mad that I wasn't like, who's like he'd constantly throw shots at me like, and remember, don't be just playing games, don't think this is this class is just playing games. The midterm is next week and we'll find out who's gonna fry. And by the way, so obviously he did announce that there was going to be a curve to this test as well. And because of how things worked out for my senior year of high school, my midterm grades were doubled as my final. So I didn't have to take a final. It was just I had to really do good on my midterm.
Hmm.
I got a 98 on that midterm, and the curve was for 2 points. Let me just put that in, like that's the coldest flex. I played Halo the rest of that goddamn semester. Not a thing was said. But so that's my relationship with Halo Combat Evolved, is that we'd finish work at school or we'd have time and we'd go pick a server that has like 2 people in it, and then we'd all jump in and make it like 10 people or whatever, and and play around. That's it. I didn't play the story at all. I could not care less about the story. And that's exactly what we're getting now. Just the story. Just what everyone wants, right?
That's pretty baller, honestly. I love that story. So, but yeah, it's a Unreal. I guess I should say real quick. I've played most of the series. I've not played some of the like isometric spin-off, like the Spartan Assault games, and I've not played Halo Wars. Yeah. And then as far as the main
ODST?
series, I've not played
Halo Wars. Oh yeah.
I've not played Halo 5. That's the only one from like the main series that I've not played, because it's surprisingly not on PC. It's only on Xbox One consoles. So
yeah.
But yes, to what you were saying, it is a remake of the campaign with some bonus. So they are also doing 3 new prequel missions that are supposed to be, set before the events of the main campaign, leading up to the campaign with Chief and Sergeant Johnson. So kind of cool, getting some new content there. It's not quite like an Oblivion or a Tony Hawk where, well, I guess Tony Hawk, we got new levels, but they were like replacements for other levels. So
sure,
bit weird there. But it is a Unreal Engine remake of the campaign with some new bells and whistles in here. Like you can sprint now, which was not a thing you could do in the original Combat Evolved. And yeah, it's, I guess we should just hit the big elephant in the room, which is they announced that it's going to be released on Xbox Series consoles, PC, and PlayStation 5. And they also came out and said that from this point forward, Halo is going to be on PlayStation. And that is a pretty big deal. So a lot of, random speculation or just like discussions that I've been, following this past week. It's like the last time that something like this really happened was when Sonic came to Nintendo GameCube, and like Sega was kind of like, hey, we're done with the console, the console space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this was like we've talked about it on the podcast the last couple months. Like we were getting bits and pieces. There goes my light.
The plane is foiled.
Let's see if this works. Boom! It does work. Let's go.
It does work.
Now let's see how long that
never
battery
mind.
pack lasts.
The plane is back on. How big of a moment this is that this happened.
Correct.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish that thought.
We've been talking about, bits and pieces over the last couple months, Forza coming over, Gears of War coming over. It's like once Halo comes over, I mean, all bets are off. It's pretty much official at this point that Xbox is just going to ship everything on PlayStation. And a couple months later, here we are. Halo's coming over too. The biggest Microsoft mascot, I feel like, for Xbox, the Xbox like brand, they even like, I feel like a big part of their brand identity as far as the software side goes is Master Chief. And it's like they're just going to be on PlayStation now, and that's a bit crazy.
It is crazy, and for me, what's interesting is that my relationship with Halo is not that deep, and so while I have been wanting to at some point play through the Halo campaigns in co-op with friends or whatever, I don't have attachment to them right now. I would say that given the choice, Gears of War would be above my Halo interest any day. And so that was a huge one for me. And I think that really a lot of people are saying, oh, this is the nail in the green coffin. And sure, we'll talk about that. But I think really Gears was the signal, like, like if this was the final nail, then Gears was the one that was like, oh wait, no, this is getting sealed. Like it was the reassurance that you might have gotten. It really does, I think, just really say that this is no holds barred. There's nothing else kind of limit. Like nothing is off the table if Halo, Gears, and Forza are all on PlayStation. And you also have to imagine that seeing the numbers of how they're selling on PlayStation come in, and how Forza was like top of the PlayStation charts, and Gears did pretty well. And I was actually just last week considering getting Gears for the PS5, just to play through it again, and and it's a great co-op experience, obviously. So for me, it's like we've talked about it, like Nick was saying, we've talked about it on the show. This is like we've read the tea leaves for a while, I suppose, right, you can say. That being said, there's a lot more that comes out of this decision regarding the longevity of Xbox and how it's, what this means for the ecosystem overall. I think Nick has jokingly said for the past 2-3 months, it's like every other episode at the very least, we have an Xbox bad news of the week or bad Xbox news of the week. And this whole topic could be considered the bad new Xbox news of the week for Xbox fans. And that really feels like it's the community that Xbox has given up on, because they've realized that they are not enough for them. And consistently, and again, we'll get to what Sarah Bond has been saying about kind of console exclusives and stuff like that as well, that I think kind of play into this whole discussion, because it really does feel like we are at a point that is similar to maybe a Sega or an Atari, where we're about to see someone get cleared off the map. Like they're about to pack up their bags and step away, or at the very least step aside. And we're seeing it happen in real time. So it's kind of crazy, I guess, if you're able to remove yourself from kind of the present moment, that we are living through that little blip in gaming history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny, because a lot of like the articles and tweets and things that I've been reading, all of them point out the fact that while Xbox is, shifting the strategy or whatever, they are a top seller publisher on PlayStation. through like Forza and Gears, Sea of Thieves, like all this stuff. Like they've been charting very well on there, and it kind of echoes back to what you were talking about earlier when we were talking about Fallout and like the echo chamber of negativity, because it's like you would think based on how like these console warrior, piss takes happen in like comment sections and stuff, where it's like the Sony people would be like, we're not buying Halo, no, we don't want to be contaminated with that Xbox filth. But then you look at the numbers and it's just like, yeah, Halo, Forza, Gears, like they have like all the top 5 slots in the PlayStation monthly active users or whatever. So it is a bit funny in that regard, where it's just more proof from what you said before that echo chamber is not usually what is realistically the case.
And it's also a matter of that, like these, yes, the echo chambers aside, the console war as a whole is such a stupid topic, because it's, and by the way, I'm saying specifically the console wars. I'm not referring to the idea of consoles or the idea of console exclusives. That's, I think, still very important. But this idea of console wars is just always so amusing to me, because it's like you're going out of your way to like fight for something that's not even in your, like, you got Xbox stock, you got PlayStation stock, you got Nintendo stock. What are you fighting for, man?
Right.
So with that said, I think we should talk about this this quote, because there was an interview that was done on Mashable for their podcast, where Sarah Bond, Xbox president Sarah Bond, was on, and she had she said a lot about the future of Xbox. We don't have that quote, but I think we'll get to that as well, just kind of later on. But this is what she said, quote, "We're really seeing people evolve way past that. Speaking of, I think, exclusives, the biggest games in the world are available everywhere," she said. You look at Call of Duty, you look at Minecraft, you look at Fortnite, you look at Roblox. That's actually what's really driving community in gaming. That's where people gather. They have experiences, and the idea of locking it to one store or one device is antiquated for most people. You want to be able to play with your friends anywhere, regardless of what they're on. I think this is such a bullshit take. Look, I want to say, this is not the echo chamber. I think, to the credit that we can give ourselves, we try to be as fair as we can. We apply different kind of perspectives wherever we can on these topics, so it doesn't seem like we're just kind of like crossing our arms and being like, this sucks. And that's what I think about that. But Nick, before I get to that, what do you think? What's your reaction to that spicy quote?
Yeah, it's like, on the one hand, again, putting the fact that this is a Microsoft corporate spokesperson and everything that they've been saying for the last couple months, you can take with the tiniest pinch of salt, because they're going to do something completely different and the opposite the next week. But putting that sort of bias aside here, I do understand what she means by this, where it's like the industry is growing past the need for exclusives, where, I think this more so applies to things like crossplay, where it's like, it doesn't matter where you get your game, or it shouldn't matter where you get your game. You should be able to play with anybody, regardless of platform. I can understand that point. The point where, this is kind of the clickbait title, part that everybody's taking out, where exclusives are antiquated. That is the part where I kind of get, like, just no. Like, look at the other two big ones here, Nintendo and Sony. What is it about those platforms that get people to come to their storefronts and their consoles? It's the things that you can't get on Xbox. They're not going to PlayStation for Call of Duty. They're going there for God of War, Ghost of Yotei. They're going there for that stuff. And then also playing Call of Duty and these other big third-party things. Nintendo specifically, nobody's going to switch to to play Cyberpunk. Like, I'm sure that there are some people that are doing that, but the majority
People
of people
get switched to for other things, and then they're like, "Oh, I also haven't checked out Cyberpunk."
exactly.
That's more so why those games are ported to like. There's so much here to dig into, Nick. This is a stupid quote, but not because like, oh, they're antiquated. Like, what are you getting offended because she's saying it's antiquated?
Mhm.
This has so much of the energy of someone who just like, like like imagine you're playing a multiplayer game and someone got fucking demolished, and you're like, I don't even like the game. That game doesn't even matter, really. Like, why are we playing that game in the first place? Really,
100%.
that's the energy that this has. It's because Nick, you're absolutely right. Like that's why PlayStation, Xbox, or sorry, PlayStation, Nintendo are succeeding, and they're selling consoles is because they have exclusives, they have infrastructure, and they have stability to that ecosystem that gamers know when I buy a PS5, it's going to be supported for a few years. When I buy a Nintendo Switch 2, it'll be supported for a few years. And knowing that there's going to be stuff to look forward to along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Look, this is I'm trying to think about how best to tackle this, right? So specifically talking to the point about Nintendo Switch, right? Nintendo has literally their exclusives are what sell their consoles.
Mm-hmm.
Breath of the Wild is a key reason for the Switch being so well. The attachment rate of Nintendo exclusives to Nintendo systems is like the biggest number you can look at as proof of that. That is part of the reason why when a Switch 2 is coming out and they're announcing Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza and these exclusives that are coming out for that console, you also get games like Cyberpunk where CD Projekt Red recognizes that, hey, there's going to be millions of people buying this. Our game can play on it, and that's going to be millions of people who might not have been in that, like, just had an opportunity to play our game in the past, now get the chance to do so. And CDPR goes the extra mile, adds like mouse control, and the game is on the cart and all that stuff. Like it's kind of like icing on the cake. So that's the incentive, right? And so this brings me back to the point that I think Xbox is completely lost the sauce on who they're appealing to. Like we've said before, who is an Xbox for at this moment? Over the course of this podcast, Nick, we went from saying Xbox Game Pass is the best value in gaming to saying who gives a shit when everything around it is completely broken. You have a console that's constantly going up in price, and granted tariffs and everything, it's some of it is outside of Xbox's control, and that's totally fair. But last week we talked about the fact that the dev kits went up in price. There's also the fact that the Game Pass went up in price like 2 or 3 weeks before that. Also, there's this idea that like Xbox as a whole is a more bottlenecked system because of or ecosystem, because Xbox Series S is always there, and they've had this commitment to saying anything that can play on the Xbox Series X will always play on the Xbox Series S. And since that launch of that console generation, that's been a point of like, oh, this is going to be a bottleneck for the system. So you give all of that together, and what you're making is a console ecosystem that, while it says, yeah, let's play anywhere, it's the barrier of entry, the price of entry keeps going up because with the consoles. Developers have to pay more to get a console onto it or to get the game onto it, but with less systems in the wild compared to their competitors and a more expensive dev kit, why would they want to do so? It's just all these things align up.
Yeah, it's the other thing that keeps popping up into my head too with all this stuff is over time the idea of Xbox is the place you go if you want to get your games anywhere, right? The play anywhere stuff. If you buy it on Xbox One, you can have it on your PC and play it there. And that's always been a messaging and like a message that like I've never put much thought into. Like, it's like, I'm sure that that's helpful for certain people, but for me specifically and how I, play games, it's not something that I'm really running into that much where it's like, oh, I I can't have my Xbox save here, so like I switch it to the PC because I'm too lazy to go downstairs and play in front of my TV. Like it's not something that I typically encounter much, but I've always like had the thought process where it's like I'm sure for some people that is a big help. As all of this has gone on and they've kind of like tripled down on that messaging and being like, this is an Xbox, your phone's an Xbox, your calculator's an Xbox, your car door's an Xbox, like all this stuff. I'm like, how much of this is actually something that people make use of and like they want out of their console experience? Like we don't really have it in the rundown, but there's been a lot of talk about, as you mentioned before, the future of Xbox and like what this next console is, because they're claiming that they're still in the console business and everything. But even from other comments from Sarah Bond, where it's like it seems like they want to lean into this premium kind of console space, and by the sounds of it and like early reports, it sounds like it's what everybody thought the Series X was going to be, where it's just kind of going to be like a PC that like you access Xbox games too.
Yeah.
And I
and then you look at the Xbox Rogue Ally X or whatever, and the price of that kind of gives you some sort of hint at maybe what the next gen Xbox consoles will also be. Probably like $800 to $1,000.
I've been saying it the last couple of weeks with the price increases, where I'm like, I don't think that they should be raising it 100 because nobody already wants it at that point. Just make it 1,000. Like I think the next one bare minimum is 1,000. I don't think it's even gonna be a couple hundred. I think it's going to be like they're gonna pitch it as like this is the most premier thing. Maybe they'll work with AMD and get like the top of the line graphics card or something in it, and something to be like, this is essentially an Xbox gaming PC that you will be purchasing from us, and you'll have access to your Game Pass, your Steam, all that. I've seen some comments on this. It'd be really funny if they did lean into it and it's like, hey, you can play Ghost of Yote via Steam on the new Xbox. It's like, hey, we have the PlayStation exclusives too now. And it's like, not quite. Like, you have a way to access those, but it's not quite the same as Halo launching on the PlayStation, right? So,
yeah. And so this brings us to two other points, right? So there's the idea that next gen console for Xbox will be more expensive. But once again, it begs the question, who is an Xbox for? Is it for someone who is into gaming enough to know that they want the power to perform, like of performance, of like, which is what they would have to promise, like high-end performance. But then wouldn't someone who knows that much know that, hey, maybe I could just get a PC, and the PC could just give me that
I think
for $1,000?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think that is what the marketing is going to be for the next one. I think it's just going to be like, this is like, we are now catering
a pre-built
towards
PC.
Exactly. The pre-built PC, like you don't want to have all the issues of like having to build your own stuff. This is a top of the line rig. It has the Xbox branding, and if you want to upgrade it, kind of like what they did with the SSD cards that you can get for the series consoles, I'm sure that there might be like some modular pieces or something that you could like swap out that are like consumer friendly. But like I think they are just going to be like, it's a PC.
But like that was what the Steam big picture or whatever the hell that was called thing was, which failed, by the way. Like the Steam kind of pre-built PC stuff did not work. At that point, Xbox might as well just try out the Xbox Virtual Boy. See how their luck runs out on the green version of those. Maybe that's what was killing it. Like it just doesn't make any sense in that regard. But then also, it's a complete 180 on the way they treated this. Like they entered this console generation where they were like, yeah, look, we know the PlayStation 5 is $500 and so is our premium console, but that's why we have an Xbox Series X. And I know because the first Xbox console I had this generation was a Series S. I bought an S because obviously it was much more affordable, and it was just like the easy option to get if you weren't 100% sure. And it definitely had some sacrifices that you had to make, obviously in performance, and you couldn't play physical things, but you understood that value proposition and you accepted that deal. And especially if you had Game Pass, it was just a very easy to recommend thing. Nowadays, that's not the case. And also, going back to this quote from Sarah Bond, right? So she says, the biggest games in the world are available everywhere. You look at Call of Duty, you look at Minecraft, you look at Fortnite, and you look at Roblox. 3 of those games are multiplayer games. Minecraft also a multiplayer game, but you could play it solo, and so that's why I didn't include it. But like, that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like who's looking at that and making a statement for a Starfield and like, oh yeah, Starfield will look at Call of Duty. Starfield's got to play the same way. You know?
Yeah, I think
it doesn't apply for the entire the bigger picture.
Choosing those specific games too, I think that it just kind of shows the hand that it's like we're just looking at like numbers and statistics. We're not actually looking at like our library or our games. It's like we just want the most amount of people playing the games that, you know, that I guess we own. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's a very weird kind of selection of things to try to back up this point here. It's
yeah. And also, they're saying this in they're saying this in the same week that, again, we're looking at Call of Duty, Fortnite, Roblox. These are multiplayer games as a service games, and sure, you can look at that to compare something that you have, like Halo Infinite's Battle Royale or whatever. You can look at it to compare, or not? Was it Battle Royale? Or they're free to play multiplayer. Like you know, like Halo Infinite's multiplayer was free. You could look at it for a comparison for there and say, oh, if we released Halo Infinite on PlayStation, it would just increase the player base. I could see the argument there, but you're saying this in the same week that a campaign remaster for Halo is coming out to PlayStation. That doesn't mean anything, you know? People aren't like, and it's not like PlayStation and Xbox are connected. Not like you're going to buy it on PlayStation and have it own it on Xbox, right? I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah.
So saying a statement like this that can be picked apart so easily is just, it just feels a little ridiculous, you know, in the grand scheme of things. And then on top of this, I think that Nick was kind of talking about this earlier, but there's the reports that Microsoft has been wanting Xbox to increase their profit margins, and I think by like 30% or something like that.
Yeah. Which apparently is very high.
At 15.
Like it's you know, like typically it's like 15 to 20% from what I saw online, and like my friend was telling me. Again, I'm not the economist here. I'll stick my hand up here and say I have no idea on a lot of that stuff. But the general sentiment I've seen is that the 30% that they are being asked to hit is high. So,
yeah, compared to, you know, other consoles and stuff like that, yeah, it 30% is high, and I think that's part of the reason I was saying about why I said we're seeing a turning point here of Xbox getting ready to pack up, unless something drastic happens, which I don't think will. Again, we never know. There could be another big acquisition on the way, but it just doesn't feel like Xbox has enough momentum or at this point goodwill to really keep going. And if they're getting, and I don't envy them, by the way, the pressure that they're probably feeling from both of the gamers being like, hey, what the hell is going on here, man? Prices of everything I play are going up. The consoles are going up in price, and I can't like why do I have an Xbox if everything's going to come to PlayStation eventually? Is one thing, and then on the above them, their CEOs are just like, hey, you better make me some good money, or else you're not gonna make it to winter, you know?
Yeah, the avalanche of goodwill destruction that has happened, that like I would say in the Xbox One generation specifically, that was where we were seeing a lot of these like goodwill with the Xbox fan base generation coming. So like the backwards compatibility program, and you know, doing moves like that to try to get fan sentiment up to recover from the Xbox One's reveal and launch and everything like that. That was where you started to see a lot of stuff. And then even with some of those early acquisitions like Ninja Theory and Double Fine, and I would even argue with the Bethesda acquisition, a lot of people at the time, they were like, it kind of makes sense. It's a really big acquisition, and like, you know, this is where we start getting hints of the, monopoly discourse or whatever about it. But like even around the time of Bethesda, I remember it was definitely more so like Xbox has the backing now. They have the goodwill. They've built up a lot of their development talent and everything, only to have it all like completely crash out in the last like 5 months is like crazy. And I wanted to ask you, this is sort of like a side tangent, so we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this, but do you think in the moment when Phil Spencer was pitching buying Activision Blizzard that he knew that this was the state that this company was going to be in? Or do you think that they had like a completely different vision of what that was going to turn out as? Because I do think it was with the Activision, specifically that announcement, that was the light switch moment where everything kind of just shifted catastrophically. So
it's interesting for me. I think the point was I think the shift really deviated from when they announced that Starfield was going to be a console exclusive. Like there was clearly enough confidence at that time when they announced Starfield, and they, and it was a big moment of like, oh shit, Starfield is Xbox exclusive. It's not coming to PlayStation. At this point, give it 5-6 months, we'll see it. But that felt like the moment where it felt, oh, Xbox is taking this seriously. They understand that they have to put up a fight in order to have a place in this industry, in terms of kind of the earning the market share or the just the kind of public interest with not just being shitty news. I mean, I guess they are having public conversation right now, but it's just overwhelmingly negative. And to Xbox's credit, just I think last week we had Keeper come out from Double Fine, and they are putting out some good games. Actually, was it recent? Like a few days ago, we had the Outer Worlds 2 release as well.
It's early
Obsidian
access.
Alone.
It comes out officially tomorrow. So
okay. Well, so by the time you're watching this, Outer Worlds 2 is out, and just this year alone, Obsidian has Avowed and this other game. Avowed I wasn't a huge fan of, but it did pretty well. Certain RPG fans were pleased with it. Outer Worlds 2 is reviewing well. So they're putting out some decent games. But I think it's like too little too late. It just like these aren't Keeper. I love Double Fine. Keeper is not a console seller. And so those games, you could say, oh, makes sense that they're coming to everything to kind of cast the widest net. But then giving up your Halos and Gears of Wars are kind of like, feels like the surrender flag for this, proverbial console wars that, GameStop said is over. So anyway, to answer your question or kind of go back to it, I feel like Phil knew, or Phil wanted Xbox to have a chance, when that deal happened. But I do think that the pressure of that, it was such an ambition. It was like a Hail Mary. It felt like, in hindsight, I think we look back at it and we're like, oh no, it wasn't like watch this. It was like, oh, watch this. It was like, we got it. We got to get it. And yeah, it just, I don't think it quite panned out the way they were expecting. I don't know about you. I don't know if you have a different read on that.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, this is entirely speculative and me just, imagining things that probably weren't the case, but I kind of imagine the scene in Oppenheimer when they're going to test the nuke and they're all just like holding fast and they're like, this could, rupture the atmosphere and burn everybody alive when they're about to be like sending the tweet that like, hey, Xbox is going to be buying Activision Blizzard or something. It's like they knew it was an insane amount of money, and they probably had to have known prior to that it's like, if we do this, like Microsoft execs, they're going to be paying attention to this now in a way that maybe they were skirting, on the outskirts beforehand. Yeah. And so
which kind of maybe, I don't know. I did watch. I can't remember much. I think I watched a little bit of that Xbox documentary where they talked about creating the Xbox, and I think part of it might have been like, it was like a very underground movement, I think, within Microsoft to create that thing. But it is funny. Yeah, I think I don't know what the stocks look like kind of live at that moment. You know, if you go back and see how they responded to the announcement of Activision, I imagine that they went up
Hmm.
because people were like, "Oh shit, they're this is a big move that they're making here." But it is I feel like it was like a very a momentary redemption, you know. It was like right around that time people were again the console wars people were fucking living it up. They're like, oh man, Xbox just bought Activision. The sky is the limit. Who can they buy? Maybe they'll buy PlayStation next. Who knows? You know? And like
Hmm.
I think at the time what there was the report that came out because they were doing all the court filings that they tried to look at Nintendo at one point to purchase Nintendo. It's
Right.
like anything is possible. What will Xbox do next? And it's just yeah. I think in the last few months it's been really rough. Maybe the huge I don't know if there's a moment of downturn, like specifically that really kind of casted a dark shadow. Maybe it's the when they closed Tango GameWorks and all that stuff happened. I think last year, started last year. Um, but it's an ebb and flow for the most part, right? Like they did that, but then they also like sold that off to someone else so that Tango can keep stay alive to some degree, and Hi-Fi Rush could stay alive to some degree. Um, it's an like they do some mess ups, but then they'll have like the Xbox Game Showcase this year during Summer Game Fest was really good. It was probably one of the best shows we had this year. But yeah, since that Summer Game Fest show where I felt like we had a lot of, I was like, oh, Xbox put on a really good show. It felt like they have a lot of wind under their wings. To then just doom, 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 like it just like it's just constant negative news and shooting yourselves in the foot and being like, yeah, that's not even like a big deal. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
everyone should shoot themselves on the foot. Why isn't everyone really? You're 2 feet too much.
Yeah. This sort of kind of bounces onto other comments specifically that have come out. I believe it was from Satya Nadella. I don't have the exact comment here, but it is sort of this shift in focus where they are saying that they're not competing with other consoles, but they are competing for people's time. They're competing with things like TikTok and stuff like that more so now than in the past. And like I understand that when you're trying to lead like an entertainment company and everything like that. But at the same time, it feels like what you were talking about before, where it's like clearly they've lost and they're just like, I don't even care that I lost. This game sucks. It's that mentality where it's just like, well, you were going to bat with other consoles before, but now because it's so far and away out of your hands, like now you're just looking at other places that you're going to be competing more directly with. So yeah, overall this Xbox stuff.
Also, oh, go ahead, go ahead. I was trying to. I realized I was muted myself to drink water, and then I started talking, and I was like, "Oh, the words
Oh,
aren't coming out."
I was gonna say overall, like this whole situation. I mean, like you said before, we've been reading the tea leaves for a bit, and it's been a lot of like moments that are building to, I think, this conclusion that we all kind of have seen coming for a while, which is, yeah, like I think they are going to have this Xbox PC console thing, and then I think probably after that, I think going 90 miles a minute in my head here.
Fucking light
The
speed.
the I feel like it's going to launch similar to the ROG, where at least from my perspective, the ROG coming out felt very unceremonious in a way. Like they were just like, this is a thing that exists now. You can buy it if you want. I feel like that's what this new Xbox device is going to be in the next generation. And then I think probably beyond that, it's just going to be like basically what you said before, where it's like they're basically they wipe their hands clean of it and they're just kind of in the background, but they are not. When we say the big three, or when we've referred to the big three, the PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, like I think it's going to be the big two. It's going to be PlayStation, Nintendo, or like maybe Steam. Like if they want to be like the house for PC, what people refer to as that, maybe they would kind of swoop into that kind of position. But Very
The
weird.
the thing that I'll say as we wrap it up, right, is kind of off of the note of about how Xbox is not competing with other consoles, they're competing with stuff like TikTok. Obviously, I can't say this with a straight face after saying that we'll try to be rational with what we're saying, but I have to also admit that it does worry me that that it feels like they're not going towards games. They're going for probably money driven kind of experiences, battle passes, battle live service, whatever. What Sony's been having great success with, but it I don't like it feels delusional to for a game company to say, yeah, we're trying to compete with the people that are just trying to like scroll really quickly. They have a few minutes and they scroll through a little bit, some games or whatever, and that feels extremely reductive when considering like how long some games can be, how games need some like like there are some games, incredible games you cannot consume in 10 to 20 to 30-minute bite-sized chunks without it dampening, like massively dampening the impact of that game, right?
Hmm.
You name any significant single player game, anything any game that really left a mark on you in terms of its narrative or its story, which is what people play games for, and those are the people that are not playing on the phones. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're playing on a console, like if you're playing on a phone, sure, that makes sense. You're fine. Like the substitute of an auto battler on your phone or a TikTok like feed is probably negligible, the difference. But like it doesn't compare. Neither of those compare to sitting down and buckling down for a 2 hours of God of War Ragnarok or 2 hours of even I don't know, like I'm like Fallout or something, right? Like it
Hmm.
just doesn't add up, and that's a depressing thought. I think that to have that as even like the put them in the same range is really yeah, that saddens me.
It also kind of makes me think how like the gaming industry is so secretive with things like exact numbers for things. And I could see a point where, if they were a bit more open with it and we could figure out how many people are playing Xbox games or like Game Pass via the cloud on their phone versus like an actual console, that could change this conversation. If it's like, again, I don't think this is the case, but if it was like 70% of the Xbox fan base plays on their phones on cloud streaming, it's like I could understand making that a point, being like, we are competing directly on, for apps and watch time and engagement or whatever. But it's like, yeah, to your point, that's not the experiences that they make. And so it just feels like a really out of left field thing that they're just kind of scrapping for any sort of comment that they can throw out there and be like, yeah, this is our direction. This is who we're competing with. When it's like the car companies can say, hey, we're competing with, the cycling industry, but we don't make bikes. So I don't really understand how that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about it is perhaps the thing that sucks about it the most is that while we have been critical of Xbox in during the maybe the course of the podcast, I'm sure we've definitely said positive things about Xbox, but by and large, you could say pound for pound, we were probably more critical of it than not.
Mm-hmm.
But Xbox is for all of our lives has been the big three. As since we've really become gamers. I'll speak for Nick in this regard, but like, um, Xbox has been part of that ecosystem. There's been this push and pull between these three consoles, and it's kind of like despite the console wars and everything, it everything worked, and we were fine with it, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I I don't think people were saying I'm sure actually the people might have been saying, "Oh, I bought this game on this, and I wish I could play it on my other console or whatever." That's definitely a thing. I think a lot of those, "Oh, I wish I could play with my friends" type of conversations kind of got ruled out after crossplay started being integrated and stuff like that. Those conversations really never went on to like console exclusives. It always felt like everyone understood that's how that works.
Hmm.
And with Xbox saying this, and regarding everything they've just said, I'm not going to reiterate everything we've already talked about. But with all of that being said, it really feels like Xbox does not understand what made Xbox special. It's the games that the memories that people had on those Xboxes. And again, I did not play on the 360, but I had friends who did, and I was totally fine with it. I was on PlayStation 3 playing Black Ops 2. My other friend could have been playing Black Ops 2 on the 360. There was no servers that we couldn't connect on, but it was fine at the time. That's just how things were. But the memories that people made, the enjoyment they got out of playing through Halo or Gears of War, wasn't to just chip away at your attention for a little bit, wasn't to make a quick buck. These were fundamentally significant games that came out on Xbox, and supported that system to be what it was, as seminal and as successful as it was. There was a reason why these people show up on the box art for the consoles constantly, and it feels like they've kind of lost sight of all of that as they're saying these things that feel they're corporately published. And I'm sure AI or Copilot is probably given a good read through as well to make sure it's PC or whatever the fuck. And the whole thing just it feels like what I've said earlier. This feels like the end. I'm not getting emotional, by the way. My throat was dry from speaking so much. I'm not that invested, but no, it feels like Xbox is on its way out, and it sucks that we're seeing it. I hope they don't. I hope to some degree, even as a publisher, they stay on, because they do make some good choices as a publisher, and have put out some good games even in recent times. But yeah, sucks. They've lost sight of their way.
Yeah, there was a spirit of innovation at the beginning and through specifically the 360 era, right? Like with original Xbox, the reason why it was kind of Halo versus Call of Duty was because both of those games were extremely innovative for shooter games on consoles, right? And like that is why Halo catapulted into such high success and global fame, right? Then that carried into 360 with Xbox Live and stuff. Like that was hugely innovative at the time for that console online experience. Things like achievements and multiplayer lobbies, voice chat, stuff like that. It was all hugely influential at that time. And then this is pretty well documented at this point, but Xbox One was kind of a stumble and a misstep, and it wasn't quite as innovative, I think, in the past. And I feel like that's just kind of progressed to the point that we find them at today. And so yeah, well said on all that stuff prior. And it's like I've said multiple times, it's crazy being at this moment and seeing all of this unfold, especially having such a what you said before. They've been a part of our specific lives in the gaming industry. We were at that point where, like, at least for me specifically, it was a little bit, I wasn't really paying attention to Sega when I was younger, right? So like maybe the impact of that transition from Dreamcast to appearing on GameCube and PlayStation and stuff was a bit more felt back then. But this is definitely that moment for our time, for sure.
Yeah, and I'll say this to end this episode, which is, imagine three kids, right? They're all talking. They're different kids. One's like a punk rocker, one's a fucking nerd, and one's the cool guy, smokes cigarettes. And then they're constantly in chatter. You know, one person, like one kid will come up with an idea and say, "Hey, how about if this is how cover to cover shooters worked?" And the other one's like, "Oh, that's a good one. I'll go. You do that. I'll make this other thing, and it'll be totally different. But you are the influence for it." And they exchange ideas. You know, they steal. Like one will make a game that's, you know, of a specific mechanic or a type, and the other one will be like, "Oh, that's actually kind of sick. I want to make that too." And these kids have this conversation for a long time. They grow old, and by the time they grow old, you start to realize one of them is losing the plot. One of them is confused. They don't understand what the conversation is about anymore. They start to realize that their dad has a lot of money, and they're like, "Fuck, I don't need to be in these conversations." And they leave. There's two people still having a conversation, but that is now the conversation is now less meaningful. There's less variety, there's less diversity, and less ideas being put into the shared collective pool that makes everyone happy in some way or another. So that's what's happening. That's what we're missing. Is that third person is going away potentially, and we'll have to see how the conversation changes. But the best way to stay on top of that is by staying tuned to the Respawn Station podcast, because we'll talk about it.
And we'll definitely talk about when Soulja Boy comes in to replace the third person.
The real third yeah. He's the third, yeah, and then in the conversation, the Soulja Boy is the third one that's going to come in. He's the replacement.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Sri, but I think we've said all we can say about the slow collapse of the Xbox brand.
I don't know about you, Nick, but I'm feeling 22.
Halo looks cool, I guess. So,
yep. Yeah, sure.
But yeah, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, like I said before, give us a rating. Check out respawnstation.com. And with all that said, do you have anything else to add, Sri?
Nope. I'm all good.
Then have a good night, a good morning, and a damn good time.